everyone. Gandang umaga, no? Thank you for being here. It's a chilly Saturday morning. So thank you for taking the time to be here. I see a lot of my students here, no? So hopefully you guys know a thing or two na about what I'm going to present. Baka may recitation mamaya, no? Good morning. So today I'm going to be talking to you about export, no? How to take your products from being local to going global, because as we see ngayon, no, we're in a pandemic. It's not really that easy. A lot of businesses are struggling. A lot of people are looking for side hustles or an alternative source of income. One of the things that you could actually enter, or one of the things that you can actually explore, is exporting. Okay. Why do we do this business? Why are we here? No. Pag-export kasi, imagine, di ba, if you have a tito or a tita abroad, di ba, usually sila magpapadala ng balikbayan box, di ba? They send over this whole entire balikbayan box. Kukunan nila, dati kinukuha pa nila yung sapatos natin, drawing mo yung paa mo sa bond paper, susukat mo, ano size mo, padadala mo sa kanila para susukat sa rubber shoes, di ba? Then a few months later, you get that balikbayan box. May makuha mo yung bago mong rubber shoes. Ang saya-saya mo, the feeling of love, parang so warm. You feel like as if yung tito, tita mo na abroad, yung pagmamahal niya, everything's in that one box. Now, that is the kind of emotion that we are invoking. That's the kind of emotion that we're after when we do export. Instead of them sending us the balikbayan box, we send the products all the way over from here to where they are. Okay? From wherever Filipinos are in the world, we'll find a way to be there. So, kung kunwari magluluto sila ng sinigang, 'di ba, magluluto sila ng adobo, gusto nila kumain ng chichirya, they just have to go to their friendly neighborhood stores and pag ano nila, oy, it's just like I'm in the Philippines, ang sarap, makakapagluto ko ng sinigang, makakapagdinuguan kami mamaya, ang sarap ng bagoong ko. It's like how I used to have it when I was a kid, parang luto lang ng lola ko. So kahit na malayo sila dito sa bansa natin, it's as if home. It's just close to their hearts wherever they are. So welcome. Here are my slides to take your products to the next level. Hello world, how to kickstart your export dream. So to tell you a little bit about our company, Northridge Foods was established in the year 2001. We are a key player in Filipino FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods export to North America. And actually, in several countries worldwide, we also do, when you say kasi North America, that's US, Canada, Saipan, Guam, Hawaii, all the special areas of the United States. But we also do export to the Middle East, certain parts of Europe, Asia. So you have China, Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, and Australia, New Zealand. Pero ang pinaka-core talaga namin is North America. We are the exclusive distributor of many of the country's top brands, around 40 of them, and other up-and-coming products. We have a universe of around 2,500 accounts in North America. This is unique accounts. So pag chain superstore yan, it's only counted as one account, and around 4,000 worldwide. We are the top supplier for many of North America's top Filipino and Asian ethnic supermarkets. Okay, so if you can see here in the right, this is the reason why we're doing what we're doing. Ang saya-saya nila, hawak nila yung boy bawang shipment nila. Diba? It's so fun. Lalo na pag nasa grocery ka, you see a lot of our kababayans, bibili sila. Parang enjoy na enjoy sila, parang miss na nila yung kanilang nabibili, no? And here in the bottom picture, that's one of our trade marketing activations. We also do brand activations, above the line and below the line marketing for our principals. So ito to, nagpapasample kami ng mga produkto ni Barrio Fiesta. So next. These are some of the brands that we represent. Many of these are pretty familiar to many of us, I would hope, no? Because these are all local brands. Except for the first two here, Pinoy Fiesta and Indai's Best are two of our house brands. So ano to, parang SM bonus, diba? So it's our own company brand. But many of the others, sila San Miguel, Magnolia, Unilever, Saba Sardines, Sarangani Bay, diba? White King, Sugo, Lemon Square, Nagaraya, These are very familiar Filipino favorites that we exclusively represent abroad. So yeah, so these are the brands that we represent that we send from the Philippines all over the world. Ilan lang to sa mga exclusives, no? But this is particularly for North America. Here are the families that we serve. We call them families kasi we envision ourselves as a humble barangay, no? So pag kabilang ka sa Northridge, if you're one of the suppliers or the customers that we deal with, palagi ang reference namin is Barangay Northridge, no? It's a humble barangay. So in the US, we service Ranch 99, one of America's top Chinese Asian supermarkets, Island Pacific Supermarket, the biggest Filipino grocery chain in the West Coast, TNT Supermarket, Lucky, Pacific Supermarket, Philstop, H Mart, Don Quixote, Amazon, Loblaws, Tambuli, No Frills, and Walmart. Diba? North America's biggest chain of supermarkets. Parang SM na yan dito sa Pilipinas. So these are the families that we serve, along with many other mom and pop stores, no? So if you were to ask me, parang Drew, sino ba usually ang mga nasa-serve niyong products? Who do you usually eye when you look for brands to export, when you look for big accounts to serve? Ano yung tayo nun, no? I usually get asked. One of the advocacies we have in Northridge is to help smaller players become bigger. Okay, so if you look at the spread of brands that we have, it's here. This is big brands like this only encompass around 70% of our portfolio. We try to make it a point that every year we have 30% of our portfolio for startups, for small, medium enterprise businesses, backyard businesses, brands and products that we can help, diba, make the leap from being local to going global. And pati dito sa families that we serve, ganun din. It's also 70-30, no? Actually, baliktad na nga yun eh. 30 for the big stores like these, and 70 for the mom and pop stores. So these are sari-sari stores, neighborhood convenience stores, diba? Yung mga neighborhood groceries. That's the target. So moving forward, I'd just like to give a little briefer on what consolidation is and export for many of us here who might be unfamiliar with the terms, no? When you do consolidation and export, the first part of your business is to take care of demand generation. Ito yung pag-generate ng orders, pagkukuha ng mga orders. Diba? Interest or demand comes from overseas markets. It's not enough that you have a good product or a promising product, tapos hindi naman sure ka agad na bibenta yun eh. There are many products here that do well locally but cannot translate to, diba, good sales abroad, or even vice versa. There are products that do quite, diba, hindi sila ganun kaganda dito, pero pag dinala mo na abroad, patok na patok pala. So first is demand generation. Interest or demand comes from overseas markets, diba? The manufacturer then readies products so that it can meet international requirements. Kasi if you don't have international requirements, it would be quite risky for you to actually try to bring it abroad. Okay, so the first is demand generation. Without demand, even if ang ganda-ganda na produkto mo, it's not really going to fly. Okay? Second is consolidation. So like kami, we are an export consolidation and international marketing company. So the second facet of our business is consolidation. If you are a consolidator, you consolidate or nag-iipon ka. Diba? We are an assigned export partner. Kunwari, we may order sa amin, we sell products by the container, 40 footers, 20 footers, hindi yan balikbayan boxes. So a lot of boxes go into these containers, which then gets shipped abroad. No? So we consolidate, sir. So many orders, a lot of orders, parang a couple of hundreds of cases, order it, di ba? Kami magbubuo ng order, papasok namin sa container, papadala namin abroad. That's consolidation. As a consolidator, you coordinate with both manufacturers and partners, di ba? To ensure timelines and inventory management requirements, di ba? Kasi marami dito. We can only service international orders if you have this much order. We can only service you after a month, di ba? Give us a month lead time so we can satisfy your requirements. So a lot of these things come into play. Hindi naman yan basta-bastang gusto ko ng isang daang kaha ngayon, bukas may isang daang kaha na ako. So consolidators, you work with them. They they know what's best for the products. They know how to order, how to plan their logistics to prepare your order, diba? And you can be ensured that everything we do as your consolidator, diba? Inaalagaan na namin produkto mo. Walang sasablay diyan if you do things right. The third step is we export. Now, exporting proper kasi is the act of sending shipments out. You deal with exit and entry requirements rin. So, lahat ng mga papeles, kunwari, ang dami mong sardinas doon. You have a lot of seafood requirements. So now, you get all of these requirements, you file in the necessary paperwork, you clear your container, everything that's got to do with that container exiting the Philippines smoothly, without fines, without penalties, abiding by all import-export laws, di ba? And pati yung papasok niyo sa Amerika, sa Dubai, sa Japan, sikasuhin mo na rin yun. You work with the necessary government brokerage firms or government food agencies, di ba, to ensure that all your goods will be received with and dealt with in a properly and timely fashion because time is of the essence. Okay? And the next part of being an exporter is you channel goods to distributors, dealers, and stores to serve the market. Now, ang karamihan, if you are a consolidator kasi, many of the businesses, if you are a consolidator, you just stop with being a consolidator. Kakausapin na niya, ikaw, company A, you have an order with me? I'll consolidate your order because I am the exclusive partner, for example. Then when your order is ready, ikaw na bahala. You ship it off, you import it to your country of it's not really my concern anymore. So kung hanggang consolidator ka, hanggang ganun lang ang concern mo. But the next step is, if you deal with an exporter, or here are your goods, your container is ready, I will ship it abroad. Okay? But when I ship it abroad, may usapan dyan na FOB Manila ka lang, or pagdating doon abroad, hanggang doon lang ako. Once it clears the port, it's your concern. Pag kailangan mo truck yan from LA to New York, for example, that's your call. It's not my concern anymore. Or maghanap ka ng tindahan, that's your concern. Distributor na bahala dyan, or dealers, or diba, kung sino man ng kausap nating middleman. But in Northridge, or our company, we take you the entire step of the way. We take care of all your supply chain needs. All the way from demand generation to consolidation. We consolidate everything. We talk to all the suppliers, and we take care of your export requirements. So, pati clear ng import and export requirements, we'll take care of that. We'll find a shipping company, a trucker, to send your products abroad. Tapos depende na sa usapan, pagdating doon kung paano. But what sets us apart from the competition is that our company also takes it a notch further with our own brand building capacity. So kung yung normal na exporter hanggang consolidation lang, or paminsan they go the extra step, they also do export, hanggang dyan na lang. Kami naman, medyo OA kasi, no? But we take it one step further. Pati yung pagmamarketing ng produkto mo, we will also help you, or we can actually do it for you. So our company, we have our own brand management department, our own marketing department. We have agents overseas, trade marketing representatives. Kunwari, gusto mo magpa-sample, gusto mo magtambiolo sa supermarket, may concert ka na, gusto mo i-stage, you want to do ads, you want to do all these holo, we can do that for you. We can facilitate that for you. If you have an idea you don't know how to execute, or you want an idea that you want to execute, we can help you make that happen. So that's us taking it one step further. No, we've been able to leverage on all the skills of the people that we have on board to make it as comfortable as possible for those that join our humble barangay. Okay? So, that's enough of us. That's enough of Northridge, no? The reason why we're here is to learn how you guys can kickstart your export dream, or if you're actually thinking or on the fence about, is export something for me? Is export the way for me to go? Or in the future ba, can I consider export plans? Now, here is our 5-step playbook to export readiness. If you look at the picture to your left, ang makikita mo dito, this is Walmart, no? In San Francisco. Yung unang bagsak namin ng yung unang order ng San Francisco area, Walmart group for of our products, no? So you see here, you see Silver Swan, Excellent Bihon, Clover Chips, UFC products. Dati pang grocery lang yan dito, no? Doon, nasa Walmart na siya. Ang mga bumibili na diyan, mga petsing, mga Americans na, Caucasians, Mexicans, other Asian ethnic groups. Kasi when you're in San Francisco, there's a big part of it that's Filipino, but they usually buy from the Filipino supermarkets. So if you go to Walmart, the people who actually buy from you are actually mainstream Americans already. Nakakatuwa. Parang dati, umiikot kami sa tindahan, no? Parang one of my fieldwork trips. Nag-store check kami while we were doing that. Meron ako nakita isang blondie na bata, no? Tapos nag-grocery siya, Mom, I want some halo-halo. Parang it's so sarap. Parang nakakatuwa, diba? Blonde, blue-eyed kid. Pero yung mom niya is Pinoy. Pero makita mo, they really appreciate the Filipino goodness, no? The heritage, napapass on din sa kanila. Just like tayo, mga angkong natin, lola natin, what they used to eat. Diba? You also eat recipes that naging specialty na, heirloom recipes. We appreciate that also. So, moving forward, 5 steps to kickstart your export dream. The first one is to my students. You know this very well. Have a vision. Are you ready? Diba? Aanuhin mo ang plano mo kung hindi mo alam kung saan ka pupunta. Ask yourselves these questions. Where do you want to be? Diba? Saan mo ba gusto mo punta ka? Pang Japan ka ba? Pang Amerika ka ba? Pilipinas ka lang ba? Or kaya mo mag-international? Pag pupunta ka sa Amerika, diba? What do you want to do? Anong exportin mo? Who do you want to serve? Ang produkto ko ba para sa mga Pilipino abroad? Para lang ba sa Pilipino na to? Yung panlasa ko ba pang international o pang local lang? Pag pumunta ba ako sa international, will the Arabs like my products? Will the Japanese love my products? Will the Mexicans, no, diba, prefer my products over theirs? It happens. As an example, yung boy bawang na cornix natin dito, Mexicans love good corn snacks. But when boy bawang went abroad, Mexicans were going crazy over boy bawang. Iba yung flavor. Nakuha natin yung panlasa, di ba? So who do you want to serve? Para kanino ba yung market mo? Who is your target market? Di ba? What is your purpose? Papadala lang ako doon. Para sa mga Pilipino lang ako. Okay na ako sa Filipino supermarket. I'm fine. This arrangement works good for me. Or, are you dreaming big? Balang araw, gusto ko makapasok sa Carrefour. Gusto ko makapasok sa Trader Joe's. Gusto ko maging healthy food na I will be available in healthy supermarkets, di ba? Or hindi lang Amerika. Amerika muna. America today, but the world tomorrow. Or America today, pero next year, Mexico naman. Or Canada naman, di ba? So you really have to know from the get-go what your plans are. Hindi pwede yung, I have a good product. Okay, Northridge, kontak kita, meron akong good product, no? Bahala ka na sa muna dadalhin yan. Internally, in your organization, before you actually do anything or decide to pursue export, ask yourselves these questions. Sino ba? Para saan? Diba? Para kanino? Ano pa gusto ko gawin ko sa buhay ko? Sa produkto ko? Make a business plan or a strategic management plan, diba? O of your business, a roadmap. Para alam mo kung saan ka pupunta. Diba? Gusto ko bang within 5 years, parami yung produkto ko, ilang branches ba ang gusto ko ma-serve within X number of years or within the year? Kung hindi pa ako export ready, after ilang years or what do I have to do to get there, di ba? Kailangan ko ba mag-ayos ng planta? Kailangan ko bang mag-ayos ng produkto? Kailangan ko bang mag-invest sa tao? Kailangan ko ba magdagdag ng pondo? Kailangan ko ba maghanap ng JV or ng kasosyo para dito sa export, di ba? Or kailangan ko pa ba mag-aral? Di ba? All of these things, you have to have a plan. Make a business plan. Kumbaga, feasibility study ka muna. Hindi naman pwedeng yung production mo ngayon nasa likod lang ng bahay mo at sabihin mo, I want to serve Walmart. Baka naman pag nag-order si Walmart, yung unang order pa lang niya, hirap ka na mag-supply, di ba? O di sa dulo, kawawa ka rin. Mape-penalize ka pa or baka hindi sila tumuloy, di ba? Or baka naman sa sobrang busisi ng export, yung local mo, nakalimutan mo na. Sayang naman, di ba? So that's the second one, make a business plan and strategic roadmap. The first step is to communicate your strategy with stakeholders and shareholders. Everybody in your organization must know what your goals are. Paano gagalaw si R&D, si product development? Paano didiscard si marketing, di ba? Ng mga magagandang labels na internationally compliant. How can finance allocate the proper resources so you can do export? Kung hindi nila alam kung ano yung balak mo, di mo naman pwede sabihin, gawin mo na lang to. Di ba? Tapos yung tao mo, para saan natin ito ginagawa? Di ba? So you have to communicate your strategy so everybody is on board with your plan. Everybody, di ba? If you say now, we're doing this because next year we want to expand globally, alam nila because your victory is their victory also. It's an incentive for them to do their job well, di ba? Pride mo yun eh. Uy, produkto namin nasa Amerika, nagawa ko yan, tinimplahan ko yan, di ba? I made the product what it is today. Label namin yan. We were able to design it, di ba, na compliant sa Middle East. Sa Japan, tinatangkilik na, gawa namin yan. Ads namin yan. Everybody should be on board. So you can allocate the proper manpower, the proper resources, you can plan properly as an entire business altogether. Hindi naman pwedeng plano mo napakaganda pero ikaw lang ang nakakaalam. Diba? Step 2 is capacity alignment. So, you have to check your capacity. Kaya mo ba? Can production and supply chain take on this new line? Diba? Can you actually handle export orders? Kasi export is not just like any other local demand, no? Pag dito kasi nag-order yung Pure Gold sa'yo, nag-order si Ultra Mega, di ba? Or some supermarket. Ang bilis lang. Because if you have a product for the Philippines, technically you can sell anywhere in the Philippines. But if you go export, every country has its own set of special rules, special guidelines that you have to follow. So, you have to check it. So, madalas kasi, dahil may special rules, special guidelines, special ingredients, may mga additives tayo sa Pilipinas na bawal sa Amerika. May pwede sa Middle East na bawal sa Amerika. May pwede sa Japan na hindi mo pwede itawid papuntang Europe. Diba? Iba-iba yan. So, for example, Amerika lang gusto mo. If you are to make a product for America, hindi naman pwedeng production ng local, gagawin mo rin pang Amerika. Kasi most of the time, you would have to diba, do your own labels, you have to do your own packaging, you have to do your own production, special formulation. So, can your production team and your supply chain take on this new line? So, kunwari, 5 lang ang linya mo sa planta mo, doing all these products. If nag-export order ka ba, can you actually take time off your main production line? Can you give, diba, give a little bit of time for your export orders? Many companies outright can say, yes, we can do this. But even the biggest companies to this day have challenges. Pag sinabi mong order, Sir Drew, pag nag-order kasi kayo, every month, 2 times a month lang kami gumagawa ng export orders. Kasi we value freshness. So every time that we have to order from them, we really have to time it well. Or, sir, hindi namin kaya, lalo na ngayon, COVID, kulang kami sa tao. Diba? We can only do either local or export. So please, parking na lang muna kayo. Or this month, we're not going to produce anything for local. Let's just do export. So bombard nyo na yung orders nyo. So yun, that's the first one. Check your capacity. Kasi kung kulang, kailangan mo na ba mag-invest? Kailangan mo ba mag-hire ng supply chain engineer para mas matimingan ang lahat ng production mo? So these things come into play. Number two, do you have the right people for the job? When you want to do export, it's not enough that you talk to somebody like us, diba? There are many companies like us. So if you talk to an exporter, maaring katulad namin, if you talk to us, we're very transparent. Oh, we'll help you with everything. But not everybody is like us. Okay? So maganda rin, syempre, may sarili kang taong inside of your company who is knowledgeable about export. It's a small industry, but there are pretty much a good number of people in consulting or nagsariling negosyo na, but you can tap them, or professionals in the field that are up for greener pastures. Pwede nyo i-hire, di ba? Or you have government agencies or academies out there, DTI, di ba? Item, yung mga ganyan, nag-o-offer ng mga export classes that you can attend. If you don't have the right people yet, maybe you should consider getting one muna, di ba? Business development siya. Pero on the side, export na yung ginagawa niya. You can hire them. So, just like kami, yung partner mo, meron kang tao din sa loob na nababantayan yung buong proseso that can help you make the process easier. Third, are you in a capable financial position? Going into export entails a lot of investment. A lot of investment. Hindi siya mura, hindi porket may pera ka ngayon na pang local, kaya mo nang pondohan yung export. Usually, when you're an expert, we really advise you have some parachute of sorts. You have a partner like us, pero syempre, there are things that are beyond our control, no? Sa totoo lang naman, you have to produce it, you give it to us, it's a done deal. Eh. But what about, kunwari, kailangan mo maggawa ng bagong planta or gumawa ng bagong linya, that entails cost. Pag nagpadala ka ng produkto, bigla may nangyari sa produkto mo something that's out of our jurisdiction, hindi siya with regards to distribution or handling, di ba? Kung yung produkto mismo may nag-react dun sa ingredients mo, di ba? Nagka-mold siya, it requires disposal. Things like this, or na-penalize ka for service levels na hindi mo kasi na-meet yung order requirements. Sometimes there will be fines, there will be charges that you would have to lay out cash for, di ba? Product development itself for export is not easy, it's not cheap. So you would have to analyze your products. You have to make sure it is state of the art or diba, globally accepted yung standards that you use for that product. Sometimes you have to apply for global licenses. Like for example, kung mag-Middle East ka, may mga halal pa yan, diba? So you have to figure that out, and that entails cost or yung mga hassle. Four is if you are not in a capable financial position, but you feel like you tick all the other steps, all the other boxes, there are government grants and support programs. So DTI, SITEM, DOST, there are some private organizations or some seeding companies, diba? Venture capitalists willing to have a stake in your company. Paminsan pa nga, it's really just a grant. Eh. Nabibigyan ka ng pera, i-promote mo yung Filipino products and will give you money. Diba? These government grants and support programs can help you be more efficient and save in the long run. Many of the small medium enterprises that we have here in the sa portfolio namin actually started this way. A lot of them reached out to the DTI, to SITEM, which is the company's export body, di ba? Tapos, magkano sila? They will request. Now, I have a promising coffee product. I have a promising Filipino delicacy item that I would like to sell abroad. Papakita sila ng mga feasibility plans nila, business model, di ba? Business plans. After nun, approve sila. They'll be given a 1-year, 2-year grant. The government will subsidize, help them with their planta requirements. Diba? Ang laking ginhawa. After a while, if they do things right, they're able to stand up on their own and progress na as a company independently. So that's the second step. Diba? Para next time, katulad nitong picture si Right, isa ka na sa mga produktong nandito. Diba? Number 3 is suiting up. Ito to the right. Oh, this is actually tindahan. This is one of the stores in Vancouver. That's actually my mom who had sales. and one of our distributors, diba? Right there. So that's us doing field work. We do a lot of regular field work para ma-check talaga if our products are doing well. No? So step 3 is suiting up. You have to know naman, uy, na-align mo na yung capacity mo, may plano na kayo, may vision na kayo of who you want to be. Now the time for you, nandyan na para maghanda. Magbibihis ka na. Handa ka nang lumakwatsa, di ba? Puporma ka na ngayon. Is your product exportable? Do you have at least 6 months shelf life? Because let's face it, six six months, di ba? It might seem pretty short actually for some. Di ba? Pero yan na yung pinaka-minimum na pwede. Or paminsan mo iba, sir, kailan ba talaga? Products ko dito 3 months lang eh. Hirap mag 6 months. The reason why you have to do it 6 months is that pag nagko-container ka, actually before COVID, to get to the US, let's use the US as an example, or Canada. Pag magpadala ka ng produkto doon, it takes around 3 weeks to get to the US, no, or Canada. Then another 1 week or so to clear it from the ports, to clear customs so you can have it. So that's what, already 4 to 5 weeks. That's 1 month. Diba? Eh kung 5 months na lang produkto mo, pupunta pa yan sa kanya-kanyang distributor, lalagay mo pa yan sa warehouse ng sandali bago makarating sa account. By the time makarating sa account yan, it probably has eaten up another week or 2. So that's already 4 to 6 weeks of your product's lifespan gone, diba? A lot of the big supermarkets in the US, once you hit 3 months, inaano ka na, binabuy one, get one ka na, binubogo ka na, or they will return to vendor, RTV na tawag, di ba? Pabalik din sa'yo because it's not sellable or super po-promo na. So at least 6 months. Ngayong pandemic time nga, no, ang daming logistical issues globally. What used to take 3 weeks for a container to get to America at the height of the pandemic, mga last year when the Delta variant was really horrible, there are some containers that even took 4 months to get to the US. May isang case pa ako na nag 5 months. So 4 to 5 months, 'di ba? If your product is only 6 months shelf life, pagdating ng product mo abroad, eh ano pa ibebenta mo? Linibre mo na lang siya halos, 'di ba? So, pero you know, we're preparing for better times. The container situation, the logistic situation is improving month on month. Let's just hope that this is really the end of the pandemic. No? So that's the reason why it should at least be 6 months shelf life. Para at least pagdating, 'di ba? Your product ma-appreciate pa siya ng tao. Actually, 10 months is the magic number. Pag nakagawa ka ng 10 months, it's relatively safe. Pag usually kasi nagto-12 ka, kunwari you are lemon square or one of those fresher items. Pag nagbenta ka ng product na 12 months and up, tapos ganun yung produkto mo, ang feeling ng market, yak, 12, tinapay, tapos 12 months, 1 year yun ah. So ibig sabihin, sobrang daming preservative, sobrang daming chemical in my system, parang ew, may ganun talaga. So consumer insighting. So 10 months actually is good enough for them to know na, uy, fresh pa to, walang ganun kaanong preservatives. It's very good. So that's the magic number. May consumer insighting kasi kami. So yun yung lumabas. Next is you have to be country compliant. For example, when you're in the Middle East, hindi pwedeng hindi ka halal. Diba? If your product is made in a plant na may additives, preservatives, they will ask for you to be halal certified kasi bawal sa mga Muslim countries ang may food na nagtatouch sa anything na may pork that can be contaminated by pork. Diba? Or in the US, there are certain flavorings, certain additives that cannot be used in your product. So you have to make sure. Ang dami mga companies, feeling nila ang dali-dali, ang perfect na nung product nila. Pinadala nila sa Amerika, hindi rin marunong yung exporter, fly-by-night lang. Pagdating doon, isang buong container. I'm sorry, you cannot sell this product in North America. Your products are non-compliant to ganito laws. Diba? Automatic. Ano mangyayari doon sa 40-footer na yun? You cannot sell it. And definitely, you cannot send it back to the Philippines. Because sending back a container, diba, is already sending it one way is very costly. Sending it twice, malulunod ka na talaga. Demorahe and all these things. It's really very bad, no? So lahat yon losses na yon. So you have to make sure it's country compliant. Third is your packaging and brand sensitivity. Is correct. You might have a good sounding brand here, di ba? Pero pagdating sa abroad, hindi ka pwede. Like dati may nagpadala sa amin ng produkto. Ang pangalan, Blackies Gulaman. Sa mga Pinoy, normal lang yan, di ba? That's a very catchy nickname. Blackie, di ba? Blackie, okay lang yun. Pero pag dinala mo yan sa abroad, sa North America, they're very sensitive because it can be, pwede yang sabihin na racial discrimination, di ba? Blackie. Ba't ka magbebenta ng Blackie Gulaman in America or in North America? So even if Blackie has a very promising product, we cannot sell you in the United States of America or in Canada because, Black Lives Matter. Diba? We have to be sensitive with all walks of with all skin colors, all race, creeds, all gender. Kailangan wala tayong tinatamaan. So you have to be sensitive. You have to think about these things. Or if you're selling to Singapore, for example, if it's an all black product, diba? Medyo hindi yun mag-fly kasi they are very traditionally Chinese. They have Chinese roots, diba? But pag naglabas ka naman ng produkto na red and gold, mas maganda, diba? They like it. It sells more. So you have to take into consideration these things. Packaging din. Pati yung mga nutritional facts mo, pati yung mga ingredients declaration mo, all of these things, every country that you service has its own requirements. So you have to take these into considerations. Hindi siya basta-basta lang. Hindi yan packaging lang. Hindi yan brand name lang. A lot of times, these things are very important even if ang simple-simple lang nila pakinggan. Kasi sa marketing nga, you have to protect your brand equity. If you sell your product kaagad, first pa lang napasok, sablay-sablay na. You might actually burn your product already and sayang na yung future mo. Next is to get your papers and documentation in order. So, syempre, like any business, you have to be clear because you have to register sa mga countries na to. Even if we are your exclusive distributor, you have to file the necessary paperwork for you to be able to sell your products well. You have to have some examples. License to operate, LTOs, CPR, Certificate of Product Registration, yung mga process flow, lalo na pag seafood ka, diba? Or meron kang complicated processes that you want to bring in, you have to have a process flow. Kasi just in case something happens with your product, diba? Government bodies like the Canadian Food Authority, CFIA, or the US FDA, they require process flows. We want to make sure where the product went wrong and what you can do in your future shipments to correct it. And they will ask you to correct it so that okay ka na moving forward. If you don't comply, you won't be able to bring in your products, di ba? Or sa tulad ng ibang mga bansa, tulad ng mga Muslim countries, you need yung mga HACCP, you need yung mga food safety and BRC requirements. So some examples lang. It really depends on where you want to sell. But every country, every region has its own special set of rules for you to be prepared to suit up. Diba? Things for you to consider. Ay, formal event pala, kailangan nakasuit and tie ako. Ay, Middle East pala, kailangan halal ako. Ay, it's diba? I have to wear nice shoes. Oh, yung packaging ko pala, it has to be nice. So, ayos din, diba? So, kung maliligaw na lang tayo sa tamang market, kailangan maganda rin forma natin. Diba? So after suiting up, the fourth, second to the last step is studying your map. You identify potential distribution partners or consolidators. Do your research very well in terms of partners and consolidators. There are many companies like us, but not many in the similar tier na many years of experience or represent certain brands. There are many companies of our caliber na ka-level namin. So, doon ka dapat tumitingin. Kahit na startup ka pa lang, do not ever think that your brand is small. Because no business is too small. A lot of the companies that we represent today started from small backyard home-based businesses. Brands like Womani, di ba? Brands like Aling Kunching. Even Boy Bawang started this way. Boy Bawang had a hard time competing here when they started locally, no? Ang dami lang kalaban sila, Ilocos Chichacorn, all these other brands. They couldn't compete locally. So what they did was they did all the steps here. They studied their map. They reached out to us on Northridge. Nung time na yon, startup pa lang kami. So was Barrio Fiesta. No one wanted to take them on because ano lang sila newbies, baguhan. Kami rin, baguhan. So we took a gamble on each other and here we are. Diba? 21 years later, going strong and we grew together. Si Boy Bawang was so successful abroad because nakita niya wala pang ibang cornic brand na willing to go abroad or with the proper paperwork. So ako, hindi ko kaya dito locally. I'll study my map, I'll study distributors, I'll do everything right, I'll fix my papers. Di ba? Pagkatapos nun, inayos niya, nagbenta siya export, sobrang pumutok. There was a time we would sell containers full of Boy Bawang products and the moment that they land sa warehouse namin doon, give it a few hours, the entire container is already accounted for. Nabenta na lahat. Ganun siya kabilis. Hanggang today, malakas pa rin siya. People still love it. Diba? They were able to capitalize on that. Diba? Just by studying everything. Diba? So identify potential distribution partners and consolidators. You are never small. Don't consider small enough for any distributor. There will be somebody willing to take you on. And if you are to tap into a distribution partner, consolidators, study them well. A lot of them will promise you the moon and the stars. Sige, 1 container kaagad orderin namin, mabebenta natin yan abroad. These people who promise you these things, they do not know what they're saying. Normal lang when we start, pakonti-konti, di ba? As you grow the market, in marketing, ganun yun eh. Ligaw ka muna, kakagatin ka, padami tayo ng padami. It's never one big time kagad sa first go. So identify distribution partners, people who know what they're talking about and people with ample experience and representation. Plan your initial spread. Diba? Like in marketing, choose your market, select a market. You can never serve everybody at the same time. You can't serve them all. Diba? So for example, kahit na US ang usapan natin, pag-start, okay, Filipino supermarkets muna tayo sa West Coast in California, where a majority of the Filipinos are. Doon lang muna. Tapos as we grow, dahan-dahan tayo. Okay, after ng Filipino supermarkets in California, Chinese supermarkets naman tayo. After ng Chinese supermarkets, Asian supermarkets naman. After Asian supermarkets and Filipino supermarkets, tabi naman tayo, galing sa LA, tatalon tayo ng San Francisco. Or punta tayo ng Seattle, punta tayo ng Nevada, di ba? Diba? So, dahan-dahan ka mag-spread. You plan it real well. The reason for this is habang maliit ka pa and habang bago ka pa, you are still prone to making errors, making, di ba, mistakes. So habang maliliit pa yung pagkakamali na yon, you cut your losses, you change them, you adapt to these changes so you don't, di ba, shoot yourself in the foot. Diba? Isipin mo muna na padahan-dahan so you win. So you win in the long haul. It's really playing for the long game. So plan your initial spread. Huwag ka may inip. Diba? 3 is to conduct proper market research. So itong product ba na to, sure na sure ka ba na papatok to in this region, in this country before you actually pursue? Kasi paminsan, pati yung distributor mo walang idea. Pareho kayo mag-research muna if it's a novel product, if it's a new item, it's an innovative product. Both of you have to do your research. So everybody has to do their proper research. Kumbaga, location. Or am I good? Okay na ba ako? Sapat na ba ako? Tama na ba yung ginagawa ko? You really have to do these things. Number 4, just like the picture here on the right, join conventions, exhibitions, and trade missions. Okay, so the picture here sa kanan is IFEX, no? IFEX, or the International Food Expo Philippines, is the country's biggest food expo, international food expo that's held every 2 years. Tinamaan lang siya ng pandemic, but once the pandemic finishes, we'll be back to doing the International Food Expo, IFEX. Everybody's there. The big wigs of international markets, Walmart, Carrefour, all of these big names in the wholesale industry, in the food retail market, come to the Philippines to check out the best, the brightest, the newest products the Philippines can offer. And like kami, nandito rin kami every time it's happening, no? Because it's the best place for you to showcase your products, diba? And attracting the right market, the right investors, the right customers for them, diba? And meron din ibang mga expos abroad that you can join. But before you join the expos abroad, dito ka na muna. Hanap ka na muna ng partner, plano ka na muna ng mabuti. Dahan-dahan naman yan eh. Eventually, you'll get your way and you'll get to progress, diba? As you go. Number 5, the last step to making your company export ready is you have to remember, play the long game. Slow and steady wins the race. This is contrary to the art of war or any other business mandate that you usually hear na you have to be fast, decisive, swift para mabilis ang victory. Oh, yes, in normal business, that is the way to go. You have to be fast, decisive, and you have to be quick, swift with your actions. But in export, it's a little bit different. You have to be decisive all the time, but you have to be willing to be patient and to play the long game. Kasi iba-ibang market, iba-ibang rules, nagpapalit din yan from time to time. It takes a while from here to get there, di ba? It's a totally different ball game. So you learn it one step at a time. Once naman you get momentum, gugulong naman yan. Kumbaga, dire-diretso ka na. So, slow and steady, dahan-dahan. Do your product correctly, study your map well, do your vision planning, do your strategic management plans well para pag aarangkada ka na sa malalaking tindahan, ready ka na. Diba? Play the long game. Have patience. Marami kasi naiinip eh. Marami biglang may mag-order. Northridge, hindi na kami sa inyo magpapadistribute. There's another export consolidator na nag-offer. They'll order one whole container of our product for Walmart. Okay, parang yes, nag-order siya ng one whole container for a new product for Walmart. Just like I said before, rarely does a customer or a wholesaler order one whole container of a product from the get-go. Some companies na like that we have, the big ones, San Miguel, di ba? URC, Lemon Square. Many of these companies na sanay sila bulkuhan, bihira pa nga sila mag-container load. It took them years to get to whole container loads na siniship from them. So usually, pag ganyan, it's either ginogoyo ka na or they don't know what they're talking about. So you really have to be careful. Diba? Number 3, mainstream looks at the smaller streams. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Mainstream looks at the smaller streams. So, for example, ang dream mo is Walmart, Carrefour, Trader Joe's, one of those big stores, Loblaws. Diba? Hindi naman agad-agad unang shipment mo, pasok ka na sa Walmart eh. Si Walmart, just like SM here, if you cannot satisfy yung fill rate, if you cannot comply with service level requirements, kunwari they expect you every month, kunwari lang 100 cases makabenta ka, maka-deliver ka. Eh kung hindi mo kaya yon, di nabaon ka na sa mga penalty, di ba? Or sayang lang yung listing fee mo, nalugi ka pa. So usually, mainstream looks at the smaller streams. A lot of the companies, the brands that we have, after a few years of playing it small, Island Pacific lang muna tayo. Dito lang muna tayo sa mga mom and pops, yung mga smaller big supermarkets, di ba? Smaller mainstream. Una, magsa-start ka sa mga mom and pops. After the mom and pops, doon ka na muna sa mainstream Filipino supermarkets like Island Pacific. After mo mag-Island Pacific, tatalon ka naman. Mainstream Asian supermarkets. You have Ranch 99, you have H Mart. After dun sa mainstream Asian supermarkets, papasok ka naman dun sa mainstream American supermarkets, which is the biggest. Costco, Walmart, di ba? So, may step ladder progression yan. Hindi yan biglaan tatalon ka kagad because While you perform well in the mom and pop stores, Island Pacific is looking at you. Diba? Kaya ba nila isustento yung hihingin namin sa kanila? Once na kinuha ka na nila, sa Island Pacific ka na, si Ranch 99 o si H-Mart, they study you naman. Oh, mukhang maganda tong company, a brand A na to. Kukunin ba natin to? Kaya ba nila supply yung demand ng 200 stores natin? Once you can do that, papasok ka na dito kala H-Mart, kila Ranch 99. Pag doon ka na, okay ka na. Si Walmart naman na tumitingin, oh, I see this promising Filipino product that Ranch 99 and H-Mart is carrying. Let's study them for a bit. Let's give them a year. Let's see if they're up to the challenge. Makita nila, 1, 2, 3 years, sometimes it takes even 5 years. They study you. Titingnan talaga nila, may market ba talaga to? Are they doing well? Can they supply what is needed of them? If you click all their boxes, magugulat ka na lang na Northridge, since we supply them, tatawag sila. Northridge, have a product that you carry. It's called Wow Money. We want them in our shelves. We want to set up a meeting with them. Or Lemon Square, we'd like to have them over. Boy Bawang, please, let's contact them. Tsaka na. Diba? But look how many years it took for them to get there. Some companies have been in the game. Some brands have been in the game for 10 years. They aren't even in the bigger mainstream stores yet because hindi pa ganun ka-prepared yung products. But there are some companies able to accelerate their growth. Iba pa nga, 2 years pa lang nandyan, biglang nagustuhan na ni Walmart, kinuha na kagad. Diba? So, it really plays to do your research, to do your planning. And remember, always play the long game, be patient, pray a lot. And mainstream always looks at the smaller stream. So that's the Northridge 5-step playbook to export readiness. Maraming salamat. Thank you for listening to my talk, and I hope that many of your brands will join our humble barangay sometime in the future. Or if you do consider doing export, let us help you go from being local to going global. If you have any inquiries or concerns, my email is here. Our company email is here below. It's northridge8@gmail.com. No special characters. Email lang, and one of us will be in touch with you to discuss how we can take your products to the next level. So thank you. Maraming salamat and happy weekend.
Thank you very much. Okay, so at this point, we are now opening the floor for questions. Okay. So if you do have questions, please send it via chat box or raise your hand so that we can entertain your queries. Let's just wait for minutes, maybe, for the questions. But I learned a lot, actually, Sir Andrew. Thank you very much. Even if I'm not from the business sector, thank you for leveling down the discussion to the point that the people who are actually not accustomed to these terminologies, we understood it properly. Thank you, sir. Okay, so for the others, please do send it in the chat box. Queries. We'll be waiting for it. Yes, sir.
Actually, if I may add, these steps, they might seem pretty basic, but a lot of the companies that we deal with, pagkausap namin sila, even the bigger ones, medyo clueless pa sila sa ganyan eh. Paminsan kasi, if you have a good product, diba, you're very confident that you can actually sell it. Pero nagugulat sila that when they do etong 5 steps na to, parang ang dami pa pala nilang kailangan pagandaan. So I hope may natutunan kayo in a way, no?
Yeah.
Pero yun, para at least maging export ready kayo in the future if you choose to do so.
Sir, we have one question in the chat box. It goes like this. Maybe it's a part of your agreement with the company. So the question is, do the brands pay you to sell their product internationally, or do you agree to split it?
Sorry, the question is, do the brands split profit with us when we sell?
Or yes, sir. Or do they pay you for your service?
Okay. So we are an export consolidator / marketer. No? So the way it works is we're just like a local distributor, di ba? Pag binibentahan mo naman yan, meron ka ng wholesale price. So in the same way, if you're dealing with us in export, you give us export price. Also, as part of the Export Development Act, our company is VAT exempt. Like many of the bigger export companies, walang VAT kasi it's part of the government's mandate to grow Filipino products abroad. So, for example, bibigyan ko kami ng export price, wala nang VAT yun, malinis na. You give it to us, tapos kami na magpapatong doon before we send it abroad. So there's no profit sharing really. You just give us a good price. You give us some marketing budget. We'll use it to sell your products. Or for example, if you want to be more aggressive in terms of marketing, bigyan mo kami ng budget. Or mag-usap tayo na, wait, for you to do above the line or below the line, you need the budget of X. Kunwari lang, $2,000 for the year. Kasama mo na lang din yan or we can filter it. Pagbenta mo, dahan-dahan na rebate, di ba? So we can use it for you. But technically, we're just like any other wholesaler. Pang abroad nga lang. That's the arrangement.
Right, right.
That's one thing. Usually, we also agree na there's an agreement, there's a memorandum before we start na usually kasi we ask for exclusivity. Because one thing that sets us apart is that we are also brand builders. So pupuhunan kami sa product mo, we'll do marketing, we'll do all these things, we'll grow it. So exclusive kasi para at least in the markets that we operate, we grow your product para kami na bahala. Wala nang ibang other player na magbebenta, who, mag-iiba ng product who can actually affect what we're doing. But that's it. Thank you for the
Got
question.
it, sir. Yeah, all right. Do we have any other questions? Sir, just another question po, no? Where do you usually ship? Which countries daw po?
Okay. So, yung pinaka-core namin na ina-exportan is North America. So this is the US and Canada, pati yung special US area. So Hawaii, Saipan, Guam, di ba? Virgin Islands. Next is Middle East. So Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Iran, Saudi Arabia, countries like that, the UAE. We also have Asia. We have Japan. We have China. We have Singapore, Taiwan. Plus we also have Australia and New Zealand. So practically, kung saan naman may Pilipino and there's enough of a market, we can find a way to be there.
All right. So another question here, sir. I think you can read it as well, no? Hello, sir. I'd like to ask if there are any subtle factors of gaining a larger market share when you export your products to other countries.
Are there any subtle factors of gaining a larger market share when you export your products to other countries? Na-miss ko yung mga questions mo, Mark. So, okay. One thing that you can do is if there are any subtle factors of gaining a larger market share, you can do it discreetly. Kasi I get it from your question, you want to do it silently, no? Kasi subtle factors or subtle ways of gaining a larger market share. Usually, susuyurin mo yan on the sides. So for example, if let's take the US again. Benta ka muna sa mga mom and pop stores. If you want to be quiet and there's a bigger brand out there playing in the bigger stores, you sell first in the smaller trade. So for example, mom and pops muna, padahan-dahan para hindi ka napapansin. Suyurin mo yun lahat. So for example, California, akit ka ng San Francisco, baba ka na Las Vegas. But you're not present in the bigger Filipino supermarket. Doon ka lang, pasample ka ng marami. And di ba dito uso yung mga nagpaparaffle, nagka-caravan, di ba? We do that. We do that a lot. May exposure ka kagad. Subtle lang. Hindi pa mapapansin yun masyado kasi these are pocket activations. This is what we call guerrilla marketing. So that's what we do. By the time that the other bigger brands realize na, uy, may kalaban na kami dito, medyo nahawakan na natin yung mga smaller stores. And the smaller stores, if you add them all together, they're actually bigger in terms of volume than the bigger stores. Diba? Did I answer your question, Mark? Okay. May I add on? Another question is to add.
Yes, another question here is, hello sir, is it okay to start exporting if someone from abroad is interested in our products and would like to sell it there?
Okay. Teka, sagutin ko lang yung follow-up ni Mark.
Sure,
So,
sure, sure.
so is it okay to export a product with good benefits and accepted as substitute even though there are not many researches related? Yes. Kasi if there are not many research na related pa to that product, tayo naman itself, like kami, yung company namin or our distributors, can do proper market research. So if our research shows na, uy, there's a promise to this or there's potential to this, then yes. Kasi that's part of it eh. Usually yung mga innovative products, these substitutes that are the first in the market, usually if they are poised to do well, they do really well. Okay. Thank you for your question. What was the question, Tina? Ano?
Yeah, the question was, is it okay to start exporting if someone from abroad, a friend maybe, is interested in our products and would like to sell it there?
Okay, if you have a friend that's interested to sell a product abroad, to sell your product abroad, you can hook up with us, no? My email address was in the slides earlier. I can type it in the chat box so you can send in inquiry. We have distributors in the US and in the countries that we serve. So if your friend is one of these distributors, pwede, no? If not, he or she can be a sub-distributor. They can get from one of our existing distributors in the market. Thank
All
you. I hope
right.
to see your product soon abroad.
Yes, yes. Another question here was privately sent to me. Sir, what made you decide to be an exporter despite all the risks that are required? When did you realize that you want to be in the exporting industry?
Okay. So it's actually a family business. This company
Mm,
is my family business. So just like any other Chinese family, if you're the eldest, diba, ikaw you're expected to go in, but I wasn't forced. I really wanted to help. So after a number of years in corporate, I really wanted to give back and help my family. So that's actually the reason why I found myself joining export. It was a huge jump because I come from a brand management background, a marketing background. But when I joined export, I was a fish out of water, so I had to learn really fast kasi logistics na siya eh. But here we are, diba? Enjoying naman and learning.
all right.
It's really an industry with huge potential.
Yeah. Okay, sir. This is also one thing that I would like to ask. It's in the comment, it's in the chat box already. How badly will the declaration of war of Russia towards Ukraine affect the export industry and your business besides price hikes?
Okay. It won't be any worse than COVID. It will be bad because prices will hike because of oil. Logistics channels will be blocked dahil may war, diba? So you cannot ship to certain areas or yung
Yes.
dinadaanan na barko will be blocked. But it definitely will not be worse than COVID for now. Kasi back during yung peak of COVID, it was really bad. Container rates were 10 times more expensive and what seemed like a joke, no? Parang OE, 10 times, but it really happened. And containers were really, may shortage talaga. And lead time of the containers getting to where they're supposed to be really took exponentially longer. But this Russian declaration of war in Ukraine hopefully will not have more negative effects than COVID. And hopefully, sana hindi na siya tumagal itong gera.
All right. And last question in the chat box. Hello, sir. We would like to ask if you also export to least developed countries, like for countries who have who have poor economy.
Okay. One of our considerations when we do export is that there's a substantial demand. We don't really mind developed countries or not. Pero as long as there's somebody in that country or a market there, kahit nga hindi pa siya Pilipino eh. Basta they want Filipino products and and export ready sila. Yung kumbaga, hindi siya fly by night, it's not risky market. Even in Africa, we supply every now and then, di ba? That's not really that developed, but we supply. Sa US Virgin Islands or Guam, they might be part of the US, but if you go there or sa Majuro, di ba? It's not really that developed. In Guam, we service SM. So yung shoe mart natin dito, customer natin in Guam yon. Sila na ang pinakamalaking mall doon sa Guam or in their area of Guam, and we supply them. So we don't really choose kung developed or not. Basta may market, will be there. Everybody's welcome.